slight introduction uh, towards the deadlocks. So in our last class, we talked about deadlock, and we were telling a deadlock can be analyzed with a system model, with the characteristics, with the handlings, prevention mechanisms, avoidance, detection, and recovery. So before we dig deep into the deadlock, so we do have this resource to be uh, requested, used, and released. So uh, the four characteristics what we are looking that a deadlock can happen was if all the four characteristics are going to be happen simultaneously, then only a deadlock is going to happen. So we have the four conditions. One, we call it as mutual exclusion. Second one, we talked about hold and wait. Third, we talked about no preemption. And fourth characteristic was circular wait. So mutual exclusion, as far as mutual exclusion is concerned, it sees that at most it sees that at most one job, it means one process can hold a resource. So that is what a first version of a mutual exclusion is going to happen. After mutual exclusion is going to happen, the next scenario was the second condition was hold and wait. So hold and wait. So the second scenario, the process is going to have a resource. The process is going to have a resource, and it is going to request for another resource, and it is going to request for another resource. So already it is going to hold one resource, and it is going to request another resource. So this part we are going to call it as request part, and this part we are going to call it as hold part. So a process is going to hold for a resource, and it is requesting for another resource. Such we are going to call it as hold and wait. Third thing, we call it as no preemption. So in no preemption mechanism, so CPU will execute a set of jobs, and after those are completed, and after those jobs are in wait state or completed state, then it is going to execute the next jobs. So at this case we are going to work the things in form of a batch here. So that is what we call here as a no preemption. And the last criteria or a last characteristic of a deadlock will be the circular waiting. So when circular waiting is going to happen, we can say it is more than one hold and wait. It is going to be more than one hold and wait position. That means I am going to have process P1, process P2, and process P3. So all of these jobs now they are going to work in a round robin, and they are implemented like like a circular linked list. So such is where this scenario of circular waiting is going to happen. So at this case we have a hold and wait between P1 and P2, and similarly we are going to have a hold and wait between P2 and P3, and similarly hold and wait between P3 and P1. So if such of the multiple scenario responses towards hold and wait is going to happen, then this circular waiting is going to come into picture. So uh, now the first characteristic is going to be illustrated here. So you can see deadlock with mutual exclusion. The next one is going to be the most critical thing, that is deadlock with mutual exclusion. So in deadlock with mutual exclusion, what was happening was that it is going to work in a multi-thread environment. So we have lightweight threads, we have heavyweight threads. So threads, they are going to have a process ID, and they are going to have a process control block, and they are going to share the same code. They are going to share common code and common data and common pointers here. So but whereas they have independent they are going to have some independent stack here. So that is the major difference what we have to understand with the multi-threading environment. So here you can see that mutual exclusion, it sees that at most one job is going to take place. So we have mutual exclusion thread 1, mutual exclusion thread 2, and they are going to be initialized here. After initialization is going to taking place, so we can see that we have mutex at thread 1. So this is thread 1 here, and second one we are going to have some thread 2 here. So this is mutual exclusion 1, mutual exclusion 2 here. So again we will be having mutual exclusion 2 here. So mutual exclusion 2 calls the thread is within process P1, and this it is going to process P2. So this is thread 2 and this is thread 1. So thread 2 and thread 1, now there is a vice versa operation between mutual exclusion 2 and mutual exclusion 1. So that scenario is going to take up into this aspect. So here you can see this thread 1 is going to run here. So it is going to call a function. So this one we are going to call it as a function. So here you can see this is mutual exclusion 1 and this is mutual exclusion 2. Here you are going to call using the resource. It is going to use the resource. So this process we are going to call it as requesting process, and this is we are going to call it as releasing the process. So requesting the process, we mean to say it is locking. Releasing of a process we are going to call here as a unlocking. Got it? So this is regarding the first aspect. This is regarding the first aspect. Now comes to the second thread. So now coming to the second thread, and second thread it is going to do 2 1 here. So this is second thread is going to happen. So we can have a 1 to 2 and 2 to 1. So in this way we are going to mimic one thread is dependent on another threading, where a mutual exclusion may not be feasible, and it is going to bring up this deadlock here. So again this part we are going to call it as locking, and this part we are going to call it as using, and the last part we are going to call it as unlocking. So this is request and this is release, and this we are going to call it as using. So a mutual exclusion, when there are two or more entities they are driving through that, and there is a overlapping between those two or more mutual entities, there may be a chances to get for this deadlock. That is regarding the first condition. Okay, now how are deadlocks represented? Now the next and foremost important aspect here, we will be having an algorithm called as Banker's algorithm. We will be having an algorithm called as Banker's algorithm. So in this Banker's algorithm, it is going to drive a resource allocation graph. The Banker's algorithm, it is going to write a resource allocation graph. So deadlocks, so it works on Banker's algorithm. So this is going to work with Dijkstra's, that is shortest job first, that is depth first search or breadth first search. So Dijkstra's algorithm. So all these aspects they are going to be part of this Banker's algorithm, that too in deadlock. So for that it is going to represent a graph, and graph it is going to be mentioned with this resource allocation thing. So how is this graph represented? It is going to represented vertex V, and it is going to represent with an edge E. So vertex are going to be represented with V, and edges they are going to be represented with E. And then we are going to have these partitions. So we represent processes. Processes are represented with P, and they are given as P1, P2 up to Pn. Then they are going to have resources. Resources are represented with R1, R2 and Rn like this. So when drawing a resource request graph, so I am going to have a node structure here. So assume there is a 4 node structure here. So this is what we are going to call it as nodes, nor we are going to call it as vertices, and this line we are going to call here as some edges. So the line between the two nodes, this is a vertex. So the line between two nodes, we are going to call them as edges here. So okay, so now you can see this directed edge, and we are going to have a directed edge, and you can see processes to resource. That is one type of atmosphere. Second one, we are going to have a resource to process. So this is from resource to process. Resource to process, we are going to call it as assigned edge. And if we are going to have from process to resource, if we are going to have some process to resource, then we are going to call them as request edge. Got it? So resource allocation graph, it is going to derive up some of the entities in form of request edge and in form of assigned edge. So in request edge, we will be representing from a process to a resource. In assigned edge, we will be representing from request to the process. Got it? So that is how a PI to RJ, nor we are going to say RJ to PI. So a resource graph is going to be reciprocated. So now here you can see, there is a process which it is going to be represented with a circle shape. So we can see this is a process which it is going to be represented with a circular shape, and resource types are with 4 instances. This one we are going to call it as instances. The small rectangles, we are going to represent as instances, and the big rectangle we are going to call it or represent it as resource. So resources are represented with a square here, and instances, they are going to be represented in form of rectangles. So what is resource? Resource can be CPU cycles, resource can be IO, resource can be memory, resources can be CPU cycles, resources can be the input and output operations content. We are going to call them as a resource. So resources types, they can be CPU cycles. They are going to be form of CPU cycles. One, we call them as CPU cycles. Second one, we are going to call them as IO devices, etc. And third one, we are going to call it as IO devices, and third one we are going to call it as with dealt with memory. So CPU cycles, second one IO, third one memory. So these three we are going to call it as resource types. So these three elements we are going to call them as resource types. Now here you can see the diagram. So this is process and this is PI. We are going to call it as resource. So requesting edge here. So that is a process to resource. Process to resource. If there is a directed graph, if there is a directed line to this, then we are going to call that word as requesting edge. So directed edge is going to be represented here. So directed edge from process to resource. Similarly, if P is holding and to this R, then we are going to say directed edge from resource, directed edge from resource to process. Direct edge from resource to process is going to be given up here. So this is from resource and this is called as process. So the things which are represented in a square, we are going to call it as resource. Things which are represented in a bubble, in a circle, we are going to call them as process. So here is an example. Here is a clear-cut example of a resource allocation graph. Here is a clear-cut example of a resource allocation graph. So here number of instances is equals to 1. At this position, R3 and R2, number of instances is equals to 2 here. So 2 dots are there. Next one, here in this model, number of instances of resource is equals to 3. So number of instances of resource R4 is equals to 3. We are going to get in this model. So for R1, number of instances is equals to 1. So P1, P2, P3, they are called as resources, processes. R1, R2, R3 and R4, they are called as resources. So processes are represented as P1, P2, P3. Resources are represented as R1 and R2 and R3. So we have this diagram. Now you can see that, now you can see here a condition. So mutual exclusion is there. That means mutual exclusion is there. So P3 is using R3. That means you can say at this moment you can say mutual exclusion happens. Similarly, P2 holding P and requesting R2, which is held by process P3. So now this scenario, we are going to call it as hold and wait. So this condition we are going to call as hold and wait. So now you can see this process P2, it is going to hold an operation, and process P2, it is going to wait a resource which it is going to be with this process P3. Now this, what is this scenario? So you can see process P2 holding R1. R1 is going to be holded by this process P2. Again, this is a another scenario which is we are going to represent it in form of graphs. Now another example, a resource allocation with a deadlock. So now you can see the same graph, but you can see a deadlock is going to happen at this case. So here you can you can predict this. You can predict this the loop, the complete loop here. So here P2, it is going to hold and it is going to wait. Similarly, P3, what about P3? P3 is going to hold and P3 is going to wait. So what is this? Hold, wait between P2 and P3. It is going to lead to deadlock, and that too it is going to fit a condition called as circular waiting. It is going to see this, it is going to form as a loop structure here. So it is leading to a word called as circular waiting here. So circular waiting, you can see P2 is going to hold a resource and it is going to ask for a resource which is with the P3. P3 it is going to hold a resource called as R3, and P3 it is going to hold for a resource which it is going to be used by P2. So we can see that we have 4 conditions. First one we are going to call it as mutual exclusion. Second one we measure it as with a word called as hold and wait. And third condition, it can be no preemption. And fourth one, it can be some circular waiting. So now you can see all the 4 conditions if all four conditions they are going to happen, if all four conditions happen, then deadlock will occur. So this is the critical scenario what you should bring it up. So you can see a circular weighting is going to take place, a hold and wait is going to take place. At most one job is going to be inside a critical section, and it is going to be allocated to a single process. So such is where this mutual exclusion is going to scenario. So here it is a mutual exclusion scenario. So one job at a time is going to take place. So you can see here two instances are there, and there are two instances are there, and two instances are also given to P1 and P3. So there is no empty resource. So such is where this no preemption is going to come into scenario. So now you can look into this another graph, where a graph with a cycle but no deadlock. So you can see that a graph with a cycle but no deadlock. So there are two instances here. We will be having two instances for resource R1. Similarly, we have two instances for resource R2. Two instances for resource R2 we are going to have. So this is how an aspect is going to take place. So you can see this P1 is going to hold a resource, and it is going to wait for a resource which is with P2. P3 it is going to hold a resource, and it is going to wait for a resource which it is going to taken up. But here we can see this at most we can see this resource R4, it is going to satisfy the first condition. It is going to satisfy the condition, that is hold and wait. So at most one resource to one process. So one resource to one process. You can say a mutual exclusion is going to come into scenario. So here you can also observe a cycle is going to represent. A cycle is going to represent, we can say a circular wait is going to take place, but P1 to P2. Similarly, we do have some P1 to P3 and P3 to P3 to, again it is going to hold up with P1, and then we do have another resource that is from P3 to P4. So that is the end of a resource. So anything else? So here we do have some cycles here, but still there is no deadlock is going to come up into this scenario. So these are how a deadlock is going to reveal the aspects. So now I'm pausing this content here. After this content, next we do have the second topic. The second topic in this deadlock. The second topic in this deadlock, that we can say it is deadlock prevention. So deadlock prevention is another aspect which it is going to come into scenario regarding your second part of the topic. So deadlock prevention. So first thing, we have talked about the four characteristics. The first four characteristics are mutual exclusion, followed by hold and wait, followed by the third thing, that is no preemption, and fourth one we are going to call it as circular weighting. So all these four, they are going to be characteristics. Now deadlock will happen if all the four characteristics are done or are reached at simultaneously at a time. Deadlock is going to happen. Now how to prevent deadlock? That is a first question. So how to prevent a deadlock? The first and question answer is that I have four characteristics. If the four characteristics come at a time, then it is a deadlock. Now how to prevent deadlock means very simple. You roll back all the four characteristics, then deadlock won't come. right? You roll back all the 4 characteristics, then deadlock won't come. As simple as such. So how to prevent corona? So only thing is wear facial masks and maintain social distance, use sanitizers, so it won't come. So similarly, they are going to say there are 4 characteristics for a deadlock. One we are going to call it as no preemption, another we are going to call it as circular wait, another we are going to call it as mutual exclusion, and fourth one we are going to call it as hold and wait. If all the 4 characteristics are proven, yes, deadlock will come. Then how to eliminate deadlock? Very simple. How to take precautions from deadlock so that the system will not enter a deadlock phase? Very simple. You see that these 4 characters will not come, deadlock will not happen. So how to see that the 4 characters are not happened? Now the problem is how to see that the 4 characters are not happened. Yes, the very first scenario to bring up here is, so uh, this is what? If there is no cycle in a graph, if there is a no cycle in a graph, if it is not acyclic, then we are going to call, there may be a chances that there won't be deadlock. So graph, how do we represent a graph? Yeah, we do have breadth, first search, then we do have depth, first search, and we do have these implementations in form of Dijkstra's algorithm. So, and these are all put together in deadlock, and deadlock is going to have an algorithm, and that algorithm they are going to call it as Banker's algorithm. That algorithm they are going to call it as Banker's algorithm. So, first solution is, see that there is no cycles in a graph. See that there is no cycles in a graph. Where do we draw the graph? The graph is represented between process and resource allocation. Where do we draw a graph? Graph is drawn with process and resource allocation. How is process represented? Process is represented with vertex. How is graph represented? Graph is represented with edges. So how is P represented? Pi, Pj, etc. How is resource represented? Ri, Rj, etc. So we do have assignment edge, nor we do have resource allocation edge. We do have assignment edges and we do have resource allocation edges. So the basic facts how to prevent deadlock was, I have 4 conditions. I have 4 conditions. What were the first 4 conditions? One, we are going to call it as mutual exclusion. Second one, we are going to call it as no preemption. Third one, we are going to call it as mutual hold and wait. And fourth one we are going to call it as circular wait. So these are the 4 characteristics of deadlock, and if these 4 characteristics are not done, then there won't be any deadlock. So that is the basic fact here. Okay, now what are the methods? What are the methods to handle a deadlock? What are the methods to handle a deadlock? One, we are going to call it as deadlock prevention. Two, we are going to call it as deadlock avoidance. Okay, so one, we are going to see that a deadlock state will never occur. Third, deadlock sees that we will ensure that it is never happening. It is never happening to be in a part of a deadlock. So allow the system to enter in a state and then it is going to be recovered. So to see that there may be chances of a thing which is leading to a deadlock, and just roll back the state, then just roll back to the previous state, roll back to the previous state, then we are going to say a deadlock is going to happen. So ignore the problem and pretend that deadlock never occurs in a system, and that is what it is going to be done in a Unix operating system. So in general, in a Windows operating system, if there is a hang up situation, you open 2 or more tasks simultaneously and system is hanged. What is the first step you do? Control Alt Del. Then you open the task manager. Then task manager, it will display all the process which are going to be there, and you select the process and you say delete that process. So that is what we are going to call it as deadlock avoidance, which is a part of handling of a deadlocks. Okay, so in part of a Windows operating system in your laptops, all of a sudden laptop is struck. Yeah, first solution, Control plus Alt plus Del. Second step, open task manager. Open task manager. Third step, select the process. Select the process. So fourth step, you can suspend it, you can stop it, nor you can pause it, nor you can remove it. Got it? So that is what a Windows operating system is going to do. Okay, all of a sudden my Android mobile is struck. All of a sudden my Android mobile is struck. What is the answer? You are going to say reboot the system, right? You are going to reboot, nor you are going to say restart the system. So restart the system so that from unsafe state, it moves to the safe state. From unsafe state, it is going to move from to the safe state. So either in a mobile phone, either in a laptop, all of a sudden there is a hang up situation. So applications are not working, applications are colliding. What does it scenario it is bringing? It is bringing you a scenario that it is in a deadlock. So how to avoid a deadlock? So go to task manager, take the process which is hung, then you delete it or suspend it. If still it is not working, okay, go for rebooting the system or restarting the computer. So everything again will be normalized. So that situation is going to be taken up with the operating system. So that is where a deadlock avoidance is going to handle with the scenarios. So okay, so now we are going to conclude the class. So today takeaways, we talk about the 4 characteristics of a deadlock, that is mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption and circular waiting. Then we talked about the deadlocks can be represented in forms of graphs, that is in Dijkstra's algorithm, that can be depth first search or breadth first search, and we are going to represent the things in processes and resources in form of vertices and in form of edges. So deadlocks, it can be prevented or it can be avoided if these 4 conditions are not going to be handled. So that is are the different methods. A detailed description of how to prevent deadlocks, how to avoid deadlocks will be taken up in our next class. Yeah, thank you. I'm stopping my recording.